أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We were discussing Surah Talaq, chapter 65. Some laws pertaining to Talaq were mentioned in the first two verses. Ya ayyuhan nabi, إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن. If you have reached a stage in your marriage where you wish to divorce your wives, then you can't do it at any which time you want. You have to wait. If you have shared the marriage bed, that not in that month, wait till she undergoes her monthly flow, and then once she becomes pure in the next month, that's when you can declare and announce your talaq. وَأَحْصُ الْعِدَّةَ. And then you start calculating and counting the period of iddah, the waiting period. But it's difficult because there are some rules that will apply during this iddah period. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ رَبَّكُمْ. And therefore be wary and conscious of God, the one who loves you and likes you and wants to train you and discipline you. First law that applies during this time period, لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن. Don't kick them out from their marital household. ولا يخرجن. It is haram for them to leave the marital household. إلا أن يأتين بفاحشة مبينة. Unless of course they've committed a terrible crime, which in the hadith has been interpreted to mean either, God forbid, adultery, or her character and her behavior is intolerable and hurtful to the family members. In which case, therefore, she can be removed from the marital household. وَتِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ. And these are laws that God has set which must be followed for your own benefit. You break them, you hurt yourself. And the reason why the iddah period must be observed is that Allah has some wisdom. Perhaps during this period of iddah, there will be a reunion. لا تدري لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك أمرا. But if the period of iddah continues and there is no reunion up until such time that it is about to finish, فإذا بلغن أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو فارقوهن بمعروف. Then you must decide now, the final opportunity, either retake them or release them. But in order for the talaq to be valid, وَأَشْهِدُوا ذَوَيْ عَدْلٍ مِّنْكُمْ. You must bring to witness the pronouncement of talaq two witnesses, but not ordinary people, people who are just, who are righteous, who are virtuous, who are pious. And therefore they will see that justice is done to both parties and whether this marriage is justified to be terminated. وَأَقِيمُوا الشَّهَادَةَ لِلَّهِ. Bear witness, testify for the sake of God. Don't show favoritism to one of the parties. ذَلِكُمْ يُوعَظُ بِهِ مَنْ كَانَ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. These are laws which Allah has set. When should the iddah begin? How long should the iddah be? Don't kick them out of the house. Keep them in the house. Bring in witnesses for the talaq. You just can't, in the privacy of your home, pronounce talaq without the presence of witnesses, and that also two males who are just and righteous and pious. Here, the laws don't end. Ayah number 3 is now going to talk about taqwa again. Already ayah number 1 talked about taqwa. Ayah number 2 towards the end again says you must observe taqwa. Ayah number 3 explains the benefit of taqwa. Ayah number 4 comes back to the discussion that, but there are some more laws during the period of iddah, in that you must pay for her expenses. How much should you pay? It depends. The details will come. There's 6 laws, 7 or 8 more laws to be mentioned about talaq later on. Suddenly the Quran stops here. Click, open a new chapter, a new paragraph. Taqwa, Iman, beware, God is watching. And then it comes back to the discussion. And she has certain rights over you. And of course you have rights over her during this period of iddah. Amazing, the Quran is not an ordinary book of fiqh and laws. This is what you're supposed to do and this is what you're not supposed to do. The do's and the don'ts. It is also a moral, spiritual guide, and therefore it talks about Iman, it talks about taqwa, it talks about God's presence and watchfulness. So I would like to elaborate this a little further, this style of the Quran, whereby in order to ensure and to guarantee the compliance to the laws of God, we are reminded about taqwa. So for example, in Surah Baqarah has got one of the longest discussions about talaq in any surah. There's a little mention in Surah Ahzab. There's a little mention in Surah Talaq up till ayah number 7. But the longest discussion is in Surah Talaq, in Surah Baqarah from ayah 221 onwards till 240 something. 20 verses over 5 pages. In those verses, again, the same style. This is the law you must observe, but remember taqwa, but remember have true faith in God, but remember God is watching. So observe. Ayah number 228. وَالْمُطَلَّقَاتُ, and those women who have been given divorce, يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوء. They have to observe the iddah period. How long? 3 monthly periods. The talaq is only valid after her flow finishes and she's pure. That's when the declaration of talaq is valid. From that time onwards, you start counting. 3 more periods. So, period of purity, then again a flow, period of purity, again flow. The moment the 3rd flow begins, the iddah is ended and terminated and you can separate. But there are some issues in this period of iddah whereby it is in the interest of the 2 parties, that it is in their benefit to manipulate, to hide, not to speak out. So Quran warns, وَلَا يَحِلُّ لَهُنَّ أَن يَكْتُمْنَ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ فِي أَرْحَامِهِنَّ. After the end of the iddah, she can easily get remarried to another person, and if God has will, they can have children in that new marriage. But she could have been pregnant from still the first marriage. And pregnancy can be between 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 months. So even if she did observe the iddah and pregnant, after the iddah, when she gets remarried, and let's say there was no child in the second marriage, and she does show the signs of pregnancy, it could be misinterpreted that this is a child from the second marriage, whereas in fact it was from the first. So the ayah says, it is not halal for them to hide what Allah has kept in their wombs. In case if they are pregnant, nobody knows. These are personal, private, internal experiences for a woman. Even the husband may not be able to notice the changes that are taking place in her in the early stages of conception and pregnancy. Woman, you are responsible. If you have already undergone an experience and changes which you know better, when does the flow start? How long the flow goes on? When does the flow stop? Only the woman knows herself. So the ayah warns, beware, don't hide in case you know there are signs of pregnancy during the period of iddah. Kwanini kwasababu in kunna yu'minna billahi wal yawmil akhir. Do you believe in God? So these are laws of God. Do you believe there is an accountability on the day of judgment? Well, these are laws of God. وَبُعُولَتُهُنَّ أَحَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ إِنْ أَرَادُوا إِصْلَاحًا. During this iddah period, if the husband wishes to return and restore and reunite with this wife, then better than getting remarried to another husband. وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. And she has rights, but she has responsibilities. He has rights and responsibilities. It's mutual, it's reciprocal. But all these laws are based on ma'roof, the rights and the duties, they have to be carried out in a spirit of respect, of kindness, of care and love. وَلِلرِّجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةٌ. Of course, men have been given more responsibility. She doesn't have to earn, he is the breadwinner. She's not required to go out of the house and work. He's the one who's supposed to go out and work. It's wajib on him. Wallahu azizun hakim. And Allah is all powerful, and therefore He's the one who creates, and therefore He's the one who legislates. Hakim. But He's also wise. Whatever He legislates is for the good of the two parties and the good of the children. Second example, again, laws of talaq being mentioned. Haram, halal, in between suddenly. But this is taqwa, beware of God. وَإِذَا, ayah number 31, Surah Baqarah. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ سَرِّحُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. And when the period of iddah is about to end, decide either you want to restore the marriage one final time, or no, period is ended, she's released after the iddah. But وَلَا تُمْسِكُوهُنَّ ضِرَارًا لِتَعْتَدُوا. Do not hold on to her spitefully to take revenge, because you claim you are hurt by her and therefore you want to hurt her. No, don't use the iddah period to hurt her. وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ. This is the law of God. It's based on wisdom. It's for your benefit. You hurt somebody else, you're hurting yourself. وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا آيَاتِ اللَّهِ هُزُوًا. And don't take God's laws lightly. وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. Remember the different bounties God gives you. No marriage will break if the positive element is more than the negative. Every marriage will have differences. There'll be some negativity. But those marriages are successful where the positive is not equal to the negative, it's more. And it's not more, a little more. The more the positive, the more the chances of success and stability of this marriage. Psychologists will tell you, marriage counselors will tell you, if, God forbid, you have made one negative comment, you have criticized negatively, you have, God forbid, abused, there must be also praise and gratitude and affirmation and compliments. Not only 2 times more than your criticism, but 5 times more than your criticism. This marriage will survive. This marriage is strong. وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. Open your wedding time photographs. Try to remember the good times. Don't dwell on the negative. وَمَا أَنزَلَ عَلَيْكُم مِّنَ الْكِتَابِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ يَعِظُكُم بِهِ. And Allah has revealed the laws, and these laws are based on an underlying hidden wisdom. There's benefit for you. You may not realize. Just recently I read a report. Some marriages, they wait. They don't want to divorce when the children are young. Once the children are relatively old, then they say, all right, now this marriage is not working, let's divorce. Psychologists are saying, even in the cases of older children, they are affected psychologically. All these laws, they've got a hikmah underlying it. You may not realize it now. It'll take one whole lifetime. It'll take several generations for you to realize the wisdom behind these laws. وَاتَّقُوا. And therefore be wary and mindful of God's laws. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. Remember, when He sets a law, it's because He knows much more than what you know. No, not only much more than what you know. much more than what you can ever know. He knows that much. Trust Him. Submit to His wisdom and knowledge. Yet a third example. Ayah number 232. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَلَا تَعْضُلُوهُنَّ أَنْ يَنْكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Sometimes, after a divorce has been pronounced, and the iddah has been observed, and then the reunion did not take place during the iddah, separation is complete. But they fail to reunite during the iddah period. After the iddah, they change their minds. They want to remarry now. In the Jahiliyyah, the males dominated, the father, the uncles, the guardian, the brother. There was a case of a brother who refused his sister. No, not that man again. The ayah says no. If she wants to get remarried to the same husband whom she is divorced and separated from, فَلَا تَعْضُلُوهُنَّ. Don't prevent her, don't block her, don't bar her. If إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُمْ, if they've reached a mutual compromise, all right, they made a mistake. At that time they could not compromise. But now they have. بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. And they respect each other, they love each other. Allow them, why are you stopping them? Jahiliyyah, yes, but this is Islam now. This is the law of God and the Sharia of God. Again, ذَلِكَ يُوعَظُ بِهِ من كان منكم يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر. This advice that is being given, this instruction that is being given to you, don't prevent her from getting remarried to the same husband. But this is an advice we're giving you based on wisdom. Do you believe in God? Do you believe there is accountability? It's haram to stop her from remarrying. Interesting. The Quran is not a book of laws only. It's a book of morality, spirituality, strengthening the faith, believing in the higher wisdom of God. ذَلِكُمْ أَزْكَى لَكُمْ وَأَطْهَرُ. There is something good in this for you. You don't realize it's purer for your hearts, for your minds, if you allow her to get remarried. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And God knows more and you know less. In fact, God knows everything and you know nothing. In fact, you can never ever know some things despite all your experiences and experimentations. Or in Surah Mujadala, chapter 58, a fourth example, where Allah is using the wisdom, the knowledge of God, the faith in God, taqwa, admonition as the basis to guarantee the reunion of marriages. The reason I'm emphasizing this so much is because I believe marriages can be saved, but there's a big aspect which is missing. No reunion can be successful unless there is spiritual counseling also. Well, look at this ayah. A man in the time of Jahiliyyah came and divorced his wife. There was a way to divorce. You are to me like my mother, the back of my mother to me. There was a Jahiliyyah way of declaring Talaq. It was known as dhihar. It was insulting, humiliating, degrading, demeaning to the woman. An incident happened like this in the time of the Prophet. So the woman comes and complains to the Prophet, and in response this ayah is revealed that no, that Jahiliyyah practice has to stop. وَالَّذِينَ يُظَاهِرُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ ثُمَّ يَعُودُونَ لِمَا قَالُوا. So he has declared dhihar, but now he is repenting. He wants to take back the woman. Out of anger he said, I don't want you, get out. But now he's regretting. He wants to take her back. The Quran says, no, you can't play around with people's lives just like that. Allah has given you the respect and the authority to be able to pronounce the talaq. You misused it, you abused it, pay the penalty. Penalty, well, what do I do? فَتَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ مِّن قَبْلِ أَن يَتَمَاسَّا. Even before you touch her, that talaq is invalid, it's batil. she's still your wife. It's just like you recite the nikah in a wrong way. You're not married. Or you pronounce the talaq without the conditions. Talaq is invalid. She's still your wife. So also here, she's still the wife. Lakini, just like a woman in her monthly period, you can't touch her though she's your wife. So also here, a zihar, declared wife, is a wife, but you can't touch her. First, free a slave as penalty. Be careful what you speak out of your mouth. ذَلِكُمْ تُوعَظُونَ بِهِ. This is an advice, an admonition, an instruction from above about controlling your nafs. You seem to be out of control. وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرٌ. And Allah has khabar. He knows exactly. Well, some people, they go and touch their wives and do everything which a man and a woman are allowed to do, though they don't free a slave. Allah knows what you did, you say privately to her. Allah knows you haven't paid the kafara as yet. Allah knows what your niyyah is. You wish to or you don't wish to pay kafara. Beware. Notice how compliance is based on reminding oneself about the presence of God, the wisdom of God, the power of God. So this man comes to the Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, I accept the penalty, lakini, I don't have the means to free a slave. The next ayah, فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ. If you don't have the means to free a slave, فَالصِّيَامُ شَهْرَيْنِ مُتَتَابِعَيْنِ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَتَمَاسَّا. Before you touch her the way a man is allowed to touch his legal wife, instead of freeing a slave, which you cannot, then the second option is fast for 60 days, 2 continuous months. Ya Rasulullah, I'm sorry, but I don't have the health and the capacity to fast for 2 months. But I've made that mistake. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. Whosoever fails to do that, فَإِطْعَامُ سِتِّينَ مِسْكِينًا. Then instead of 60 days fasting, then you feed 60 poor people. The story has a continuation, but I will skip that for the moment. It is the end part of this ayah which is important for me. ذَلِكَ لِتُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. But she's my wife. You told me that this talaq I gave her is invalid. Yes, but there's a penalty. And the penalty is so that your faith in God is restored. The way you acted at that time, it's as if you didn't believe there's a God, or your faith in God was weakened. ذَلِكَ لِتُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَتِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ وَلِلْكَافِرِينَ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. And these are laws which God has set. And for those who refuse to accept God's laws, who deny them, who doubt them, who don't abide by them, for them there is chastisement, there is punishment. Conclusion. Talaq is avoidable. There are steps to be taken. And definitely one step is to mention the rights and the duties of both parties. But a very important component which the Quran emphasizes is the element of strengthening one's faith in God in the day after, in the presence of God, the power of God. Interesting. The ayah keeps on saying that all of this should be done bil ma'roof, bil ma'roof, bil ma'roof. Almost 12 times this word is repeated, meaning that treat each other with respect, with kindness, with care and compassion. These are the foundations of a strong marriage. You tell me, the prescription is there, spiritual prescription for a marriage to succeed. How come we are failing? Where are we going wrong? Let's pray to Allah to have the tawfiq to strengthen our iman and our taqwa and our awareness of God's presence and God's power. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.